everybody, Gina DeLuca here. All right, I am set up for a straight pour. This one is going to be more of that cloudy effect. I am using the DecoArt Americana Decor Satin Enamel paints in pure white. As this is my cell maker, this is added to all of these small cups. Not the big cup, just the small cups. There is about a tablespoon of this in each one of these cups. And then I add the other colors to that. So to this one here, the one that looks white, I have added some Liquitex Basics Titanium White to that. But I have also added all of the other colors that I'm using, and I'll explain why. So let me just tell you what other colors we have. We have the Quinacridone Magenta by Basics, Cadmium Yellow Deep Hue, and the Brilliant Blue. Okay, so how I've mixed this. Again, the satin enamel white in each of these small cups. To this color, this is the cadmium yellow deep hue, mostly. This is mostly the Quinacridone Magenta. This is a mix of the Quinacridone Magenta and the Brilliant Blue. And this is mostly the titanium white, but to all of these colors, I have added each color. So this white also has some of this blue, some of the magenta, and some of the yellow, but just a touch of those other colors. This pinkish color has the blue and the yellow in it. The yellow has a bit of the blue and the magenta. The reason I do that, without doing that, these colors looked very like they belong in an Easter basket. But when you add those colors together, even when it's just a tiny bit, it really pulls them together, makes them feel a little more muted, a little softer, not so, you know, this is pastel. It's more like pastel. So you can do that. It doesn't just have to be pastels. You can do that with most of your paints. You know, even if you think that those colors shouldn't go together, adding just a drop of it, like the size of a pea, will change it enough to make colors that don't quite work together. It'll kind of homogenize them. And so it makes your color palette more palatable. These colors were inspired by a sunrise I saw the other day, and I just loved the colors, and I was inspired to put it in a painting. So that's what we're doing. This is a 20 by 20 gallery wrapped canvas. These paints have been mixed, 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. That mixture is then thinned to the proper consistency with my concoction of 90% water and 10% Floetrol. It just helps it blend a little quicker and reduces the chances of you going too thin too quickly. The consistency that we're working with. So this is about a 2.5 on my consistency scale. It is making a mound, but it's coming. Oh, did you thicken up on me? You naughty. Okay, so it's coming off of the stick very easily, very evenly, but it is making a mound. So I would put this like at a 2.5 to possibly a 3, closer to 2 3/4. The system's completely arbitrary. All right, so that's what we're working with. I'm hoping that the way that these colors blend together, it's not going to feel like an Easter basket. I'm hoping that it has that look of, you know, a sunrise. Yeah, and I might do like the slow ring thing, because you can get some really interesting puffy clouds on that, and you know, kind of like you're looking up into a tornado of morning clouds, something like that. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute. If you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards. Each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube. That would be this box up here, tells you where to find that. This is the picture of that particular painting from that video. This box here contains a tip for that particular technique. And here at the bottom, you have the color palette that was used in this particular painting. If you need to know the exact brands and consistency and all of that stuff, if you're very detail oriented, you can go to the video and all of that information will be there. There are also 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. Use all of the colors or use some of the colors, mix and match the color palettes with the technique cards, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. And I've also heard people are using it for scrapbooking and beadworking and stuff, so pretty handy for the artist. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also available at amazon.com. And if you get it from Amazon, please do leave feedback. They are sticklers for algorithms over there, and feedback is a huge part of it. Okay, and I did want to mention, I'm not sure if I did, that this color is the Titanium White, Brilliant Blue, and a touch of the Magenta and the yellow. Just a touch, tiny, tiny bits. And it just pulls the colors together like magic. So I went to Walmart and got the last torch that they had left, and it wasn't price marked. It's $40 and I hate it. So don't expect to see this one around for long. It's got like this lock, you know, like safety thing that you have to flick every time. And, you know, if you got paint on your thumb, that's not going to work. And it's very loud. And it doesn't light every time. I don't like it. But if you watched my last video, you saw the demise of my last torch, which happened to fall into my painting, and there was like sizzling and stuff. That was exciting. But yeah, so that happened. And good times. Yeah. All right, so let's put some paint in a cup. I'm going to put about 2 ounces of the blue. And then I'm going to lay down my base coat. Now, the reason that we lay down the base coat, you need your paint to be able to slide around on your canvas. If you pour your paint onto a dry canvas, something has to stick to the canvas, you know, so it's going to be the paint that you just poured. And what winds up happening is sometimes the best stuff is going to happen on the edges, and in order to cover your painting, that paint is going to roll over itself, because the first bit of paint that sticks to your canvas is going to wind up at the bottom, and the rest of your paints will glide over top of that. So lay down a base coat and you have far more control over your composition this way. And I cover my edges first, especially on straight pours, because the straight pour is kind of thin and certain paints will not adhere to the sides quite as well. And so then your canvas might show through, and that's not very pretty. And the only way to fix that is to go in with a paintbrush afterwards. And it's just easier to go in with that paintbrush ahead of time, especially when you are doing a custom blended color like this is. Chances are, you know, I'm not that good where I can perfectly match a color. I can get it pretty darn close, but I cannot get it exact. And so it's just easier to do it ahead of time. All right, my base coat is down. I'm gonna pop these bubbles. Oh, I hate this thing. Sheesh. And this is the lowest setting. It's pretty serious. I like the angle of my old one better. It had an angle to it, a little easier on the wrist. Well, now I know I have a preference. Okay, let's put some paint in a cup. All right, and I am going to pour from up high because I want these paints to blend. Always be sure to check your consistency before adding to your cup. The sauce can thicken upon standing. Pouring from up high also helps the paints to sink. And if your cell maker is just sitting on top, it's not going to have an opportunity to make cells because it needs to be able to pop through your background paint. Background paint would be that first cup that went in. So this is my base coat on my canvas. That is my background in the cup because that is the paint that is going to appear in between the cells. Okay, and now for my magenta orange. Oh, don't know if you heard that thud, but I live next to what's called a proving ground, which is where they test munitions for the military. And they've been blowing up some big stuff today. There've been a couple of window rattlers. And it's so surreal. I was sitting here earlier and I'm looking at the light dance on the water and listening to the birds sing their song, and then kaboom! Even the, oh, that would look like there was a lump in there. Even the cats looked like, you know, what the heck was that? Bigsby is doing much better. Thank you to everyone who sent their well wishes. He's doing much better. I think we got his insulin dosage figured out and he's doing much better. And then I'm just going to put some of this on top. Again, they can't make cells if they don't have a paint to react with. Let me pop these bubbles one more time here. That is a very uncomfortable torch. I don't recommend. It came with an attachment. I think it's for like plumbing welding, but it was the only one that I could find. All right, actually I have some of that, oopsie, some of that blue left over in my cup. So what I'm gonna do is get this stuff out of the way. Is give myself a little extra puddle to pour into and help those paints to churn. And that might actually, and I hate when it comes out of the cup weird because it was so full. I'm trying to decide, am I going to Fibonacci this or am I just going to let it do its thing? Decisions, decisions. All right, let's pop some bubbles. Never going to start on the first time, are you? Okay. I'm going to let this sit. And as this sits, it's going to percolate. Cells are going to start popping up. And the cells that pop up before you tilt are the ones that get stretched and they turn into those really cool like boulder cells or the cloud cells, what have you. So as you pop bubbles, like say there's a bubble in a layer of the orange, but it's underneath this blue. And that bubble starts to come to the top, you pop that bubble and it has brought some of that orange with it. And so that will create a cell. Now, if you pop as many bubbles as you can, if you're very patient with this part, and you allow as many bubbles to come up as possible, pop those bubbles. You can then stretch those little cells and turn them into bigger cells. If you torch after you tilt, you can get these little tiny cells. Now that's also why I use the same color base coat as I use for my background. If this was white, if my base coat was white, and there was no white in this painting, and I wound up with the little tiny cells after, little tiny pinpoints of white, like that's gonna take away from the painting for me. And I used to go in with a paintbrush and fix them when that happened until I finally wised up and said, Why not just use the color, you know, that's in the painting so it doesn't bother me so much. Okay, more bubbles. Let's pop. Never going to start the first try. This is a Burn-Zomatic. I'm gonna call it Bernie 2 times because you have to do it 2 times to get it to light. Oy vey. He didn't like that. You didn't like that, did you, Bernie? Hey. So this technique creates a lot of bubbles because that paint is churning as you're putting it into the cup. It's churning when it's hitting the canvas, but it's that churning that gives that blended effect in the bolt. Like, that's why they look like boulders. That's what gives it that 3D effect, is the colors blending, and then it creates this depth, and you have like shadows and highlights kind of vibe going on. All right. I see a few more bubbles that I want to pop before I tilt. Okay. I'm going to head to this corner first. I have a lot of paint on here, so I'm going to wind up tilting off quite a bit probably. You don't want to leave too much paint sitting on your canvas. That can lead to cracking. I need to slow it down. I'm going too fast. Okay, and I always bring the weight of the paint back to center before I change direction. But I think I'm just going to go to the opposite corner. You know, if you want to know, are you tilting too quickly, keep an eye on one of the outer rings. And if you see the other paint roll over top of it, you're going too quickly. The paint will get there eventually. As long as you've done your measurements. And what are the measurements? That would be helpful for you to know. So I do, speaking in inches and ounces, I multiply length times width, and that will give you your square inches. Divide that by 28, or if you want to be extra cautious, you can do 24. But I find 28 works for me. Yeah, so you divide by 28, and that number that you're left with is how many ounces of paint you'll need. A lot of bubbles in this one. And as you stretch, they'll come up too. I would rather do it now, so if any of those little pin cells come up, I still have a little bit of time to stretch them. I do not like that. That thing hurts my thumb. All right. So bring the weight of the paint back to center. Before changing directions, you could tell where the weight of the paint is by where it's moving the fastest. And I feel like I was in the middle of explaining something else, which I've since forgotten what I was talking about. Sorry. I'm very easily distracted. One of my pet peeves is when I'm talking and someone cuts me off, like, you know, even if it's just to ask a question or something, and then I completely lose my train of thought and I can't get back to where I was. Very easy to distract. It's like, ooh, squirrel. I'm really loving these colors. Definitely has that sunrise vibe. Something has happened to my biorhythms since I moved here, because I have an alarm set for 7 in the morning, and I wake up before it goes off almost every day. If you knew me way back when, that's when I would be falling asleep. Yeah, so I was a night owl, and if I ever saw a sunrise, it was from the back end of it, you know, still awake from the night before. Sometimes your edges can get a little dry on you. Get that, like, a little bit of skin on it. It can help to give it a little freshen up. That really is starting to thicken up though. Thirsty canvas. Okay, it's gonna be a long trip. A long trip to this side. Whew. Da, 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 da. Actually, I just have to remember to turn it back. This is going to take a minute, but patience, if nothing else. This is a lesson in patience. It will get there. There is more than enough paint on this canvas. Oh man, these colors are blending together so beautifully. Oh my goodness. I might need to do like a giant one of these in this color palette. Oh, it looks just like a sunrise that yellow into the purple and the magenta. It's going to take forever, but it'll get there. If you've ever had a painting that wasn't level and you walked away and thought that it was done doing what it was going to do, and you come back and you're like, that's not the same painting. You know how much paint can move over time. This is going to be a long video. Oh my goodness. Come on, baby, you can do it. So close. It's almost there. Whew. Okay. And now, turn it back. Wait, was that the direction? That's why I don't do that, because, all right, I always mark my bottoms. So I know which way it was leveled. Okay. Yeah, these colors are a win. I'm really, really loving how they blended together. Okay, I'm gonna let this sit, and I will bring you in for a close-up. Back in a few. Okay, here it is. I figured out how to show this to you without getting all of that glare from the light. Yay. But, I mean, it's not picking these colors up right. Where it looks very gray, it's actually a very pale purple. It's looking a little more stormy than it is here in person. Trying to see if I can get it to focus those colors correctly, but it is not. You'll just have to take my word for it. It's a very pale purple. It is not so stormy looking. That's a bummer that you can't see what color that is, because it's beautiful. But there it is. Some cool stuff happening in there. Focus, please. I said focus. There we go. Don't know what was happening there. Camera's acting funny. But this is looking very strange to me. Don't know why it's... Hopefully that is not coming through on your end. It's just something weird happening on my screen. But there it is. In person, it definitely looks like the sunrise. But there it is. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. If you did, please do like and share and subscribe and all that good stuff. Do check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar, if you feel so inclined. The affiliate links for DecoArt, where you can get the satin enamel paints that make this magic happen. And also Amazon and Blick and Arteza. If you enter through those links, anything that you purchase off the entire site, I will receive a small commission at no additional cost to you. And also you will find links to my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and fluid art inspiration cards for sale. And the cards are also available at Amazon, of course. And last, my camera is just going nuts. Last, but certainly not least. Oh, good, someone's mowing their lawn. Last but not least, you can find the link to our Facebook group, Go Make Some Art. Join us there, post your masterpieces, ask your questions, get some inspiration. That's it for me, because I can tell he's getting closer to my windows. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.